Whether you love the Fiend and his persona, or you just don't understand the character at all, no doubt that you know his name by now. You also probably know that he is one of the shining lights of WWE at the moment, and this could be the character that etches his name one day into the Hall of Fame. With that being said, however, it is also becoming increasingly obvious that the Fiend has quite a few drawbacks to its character that could hurt it. Of course, it's not known whether that will actually end up happening or not and depends on a multitude of things, but the possibility is still there. In the end, here are the 5 biggest weaknesses of the Fiend character. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments below and tell us what you think the Fiend's biggest weakness is. Number 1. Suspension of disbelief. It's no secret that the art of pro wrestling involves the audience suspending their disbelief to enjoy an event, and the Fiend makes that pretty hard to do. In fact, between how he attacked The Miz and his family in a horror movie type scene, to his Firefly Funhouse match with John Cena, it's pretty obvious that this regularly borders on the unbelievable. Now, there are going to be a lot of fans who like the idea and want WWE to invest more into it, but that comes with a price. With that being said, the price will likely be the character reaching a point of no return. In the end, every time the company tacks something new onto Wyatt's lore or tries to come up with another edge to his gimmick, they are taking a risk. Furthermore, fans have trouble believing some things to begin with, which is only going to create this ongoing dialogue of how much is too much. Number 2. Victim of 50-50 booking in the past. No matter how good a character is, how much it brings to the table in terms of marketability, telling a story or entertaining fans, it will always be eventually subjected to the 50-50 booking that WWE is known for. Fortunately for the WWE Universe, the Fiend has already survived 2 missteps and has momentum on his side. Whether that is due to his big win over John Cena at WrestleMania 36, or just the bond that the character has with fans remains to be seen, but he is trending upward. The question though, is how long this will last and what the company has planned next for him. For example, WWE put him in the WWE title picture and set a match between Bray Wyatt vs Braun Strowman, and in the match we see a Bray Wyatt, not the Fiend Bray Wyatt, and that end up with Bray lose in match. So why 2 faces of the Bray Wyatt? Just make him one character, otherwise all character will mess up. In the end, no matter how brilliant of a character he is, the Fiend will not stay protected forever and will be subjected to the whims of WWE. Number 3. Could never be the face of the company. The Fiend was a very brilliant creation by Bray Wyatt and WWE, but it doesn't come without its drawbacks. Unfortunately for those hoping that the Fiend character is able to succeed long-term in the company, it will have to overcome the hurdle of not really being able to qualify as a mainstream entity. Think about it. Do you really think the Fiend character is going to be something they promote in their everyday material? Compare him to a superstar like Brock Lesnar, who has gained WWE a ton of legitimacy from his UFC work alone, and you can see why a character like the Fiend will never achieve that same status. In fact, even when you look at commercials for Friday Night SmackDown or WWE in general, the Fiend is almost certainly missing. Of course, he appears in merchandising commercials and WWE Network ads, but one could argue that those are more geared towards the die-hard fan base. In all honesty, the only people that connect with the Fiend character would be those who know Wyatt's history, horror movie fans, or people looking for edgy content. While those are all nice niches to fulfill, he will never be the mainstream entity that can take over the company and the face of WWE like Roman Reigns. Number 4. Very niche. Whether the WWE Universe wants to admit it or not, the Fiend as a whole is one of the most niche characters in the company's history. Of course, some will point to his Universal title run and his early undefeated streak as proof of that not being true, but one has to remember what happened once that started to subside. Unfortunately for the Fiend, his popularity took a hit after he got switched to Friday Night SmackDown. That's supposedly what led to Vince McMahon putting the title on Goldberg after he popped a rating on a throwaway episode of SmackDown and paved the way for what could have been the end of the Fiend. That's the biggest problem with the Fiend character as a whole. It's the fact that he couldn't hold ratings for that small period of time and forced WWE to go in another direction. In the end, that likely means he will remain a very niche superstar for years to come and should probably not be featured in a title program for long periods of time. Number 5. Its lore. The Fiend. The Fiend's lore can be very confusing at times. Believe it or not, the lore of the Fiend is by far its biggest weakness. In fact, between hinting at a true weakness of the Fiend and then not following up on it, and the acid trip style of the Firefly Funhouse match, it's hard to imagine what the future of the character is. If nothing else, WWE has introduced a lot of different elements of the Fiend character, but sometimes forgets to keep them into the narrative. For example, Ramblin' Rabbit was swearing up and down that the Fiend had an exploitable weakness, but that was never followed up on. In the end, it was a very jarring moment in the lore of the character and begs the question of if it will be implemented again or not. Unfortunately for the WWE Universe, once a character's lore is changed or goes unacknowledged for a long time, it becomes harder to really get behind the gimmick as a viable threat. Hope you like our video. If you like the video, please press the like button and subscribe our channel for more videos.